Hello guys, you are most welcome to my channel. My name is Eva Christopher. In today's class, we'll be learning how to make a 3-piece corset top. Our next video will be the actual sewing of the corset top. And the measurement you need for this pattern drafting is your bust measurement, you need your under bust measurement, you need your waist measurement, and then your hip measurement or wherever you want your top to sit. Without further ado, let's get down to business. So we start off by drafting our basic bodice pattern. From my shoulder, I'll take my horizontal lines. That is, from my shoulder to my bust is 10 inches. Still leaving my tape at the shoulder to 13 inches is my under bust measurement. From my shoulder to 16 inches is my waistline, and then 24 inches is the length of will be the length of my top. So I'll draw out these lines. For the neck width, I took 3 inches, and for the depth, I took 3 inches as well. My shoulder is 15. Divided into 2, I have 7.5. So I will impute 7.5. And I'll come down by 1 inch to get my shoulder slope. From that 1 inch, I'll connect it to the edge of my neck. Now I'll get my armhole depth by dividing my bust by 6 plus 1.5. Then I'll draw the line and it will become our chest line. I'll go ahead to extend this line. It will serve as our chest line. Next, I'm going to label my lines. So this is me labeling my chest line. That is my bust line, my under bust line, my waist line, and then my hem line or the length of my top. Next is to draw out our dart line. We do this by dividing our bust span into 2. Your bust span is the distance between one nipple to the other, and mine is 8. Divided by 2, I have 4. So I impute 4. From the edge of my pattern paper, I took 4 inches, and I'm going to rule this out. I stopped at the bust point, as you can see. Then to complete our dart line, measure your shoulder slope and find the middle. Then connect the line to your bust point, like I'm doing. Now it's time to take our darts. From my under bust, I'll take 0.7 on both sides. You can take up to 1 inch if you have a bigger bust. And then on my waist, I took 0.7 as well, and 0.7 at my hemline. I'll connect these lines. Then from my bust line, I'll come down by 1 inch. This is to give room for your bust to sit properly. And then from that 1 inch, I'm going to connect my darts in a slight curve to avoid any sharpness. Now it's time to get our cup. Measure between your bust line and your under bust line. Whatever you get, you're going to take it round your bust. In my case, I got 3 inches. So I'm going to place my tape at the tip of my bust line, as you see me doing, and I'm going to take 3 inches all around, leaving my tape at the middle, as you can see, of my bust line. So I'm just trying to draw this out so it will be a little visible for you. To tighten our bust, remember I gave 0.7 on both sides, making it 1.5. So I'm going to share that 1.5 between my dart lines. So I gave ½ inch to the one going to the front and 1 inch to the one going to the side. And I'm going to connect it from my bust line like so. Now it's time to determine your neck depth. You can just come down to your chest line, but in my case, I want to come down more by 1 inch from my chest line, and from there I will go in by ½ inch. That will be the distance between our cups. Then I'm going to connect from the tip of my bust to the center as you see me doing. So to get my other cup, I need my bust measurement. I input my bust measurement, and from my bust measurement to my arm length, I'm going to find the midpoint. From that midpoint, I'll come down by ½ inch and then connect from the top to that place like you see me doing. And then from there, I'm going to connect to my under bust line. I will do the same for the front. I'll connect from the 1 inch I came down for my neck depth to my under bust. Next is to get our crown, like I call it the cup crown. That's what makes the cup a 3-piece. So from that side, I came down by 2 inches, and from this side, I'll come down by 2½ inches. Because, the line is longer than the side on. And then for the front, I'll just come down by 1.5, that's 1½, and then I'll connect these lines. Now it's time to input my body measurement. I will input my bust measurement divided by 4, then replace the dart I took away there, that's 1½. I'll also do that for my waistline, input my waist measurement divided by 4, and then replace the darts. Same thing for my hem. Input my hip measurement or wherever my top is going to sit, and then replace the 1.5 dart that we took away. Then we'll connect our lines. Next is to add my sewing allowance. I usually add 1 inch is okay for me to sew. I will connect these lines as well. To get my arm curve, find the midpoint of your arm length and go in by 0.5 and then connect your arm curve. This is if you want your corset to have a yoke. Now label your cups. The 1 and 2 will later become 1 actually, because I'm going to join them together as one piece. I'm also going to use arrows to identify which part of the cup is going towards the middle and which part is going to join afterwards. I hope you understand. Just watch what I'm doing. So I used arrow 1 and arrow 2 to be able, to not mix them up because they can be very confusing. After that, come down by 0.5 from your arm and connect to your cup. To shape my top, I went up by 3 inches from my hem, but I will not cut this out until I've cut out my darts and my pattern. This is to avoid any shortages. It's now time to cut out the shape of my top. From that 3 inches, I just curved slightly. Also cut out the crown of our cup. As you can see the arrows, arrow 1, arrow 2, they look almost identical, so that's why I use the arrow so that I don't mix them up. Now join your cup crown to become one. Join them together, don't overlap please, just use a tape to join them together and trace it out on another paper. Then cut it out. Now our 1 and 2 is now one piece, and I use the arrow to signify which part of the crown is coming towards the front. Now when we are sewing, we join the 2 pieces together and then use the crown to crown it. That is why I call it the crown. These are all my front pieces. Let's draft out our back pattern. For our back pattern, take all your horizontal lines just like we did for the front. As you can see, I've ruled out all the lines and I'm just labeling them just like we did for the front. And for the neck width, I took 3 inches, and for the depth 1 inch. Then I'm imputing my shoulder measurement, that's 0.7. Then I'll come down by 1 inch to just get my shoulder slope. After that, I'll take my arm length, that is my bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. We get our dot line just like we did for the front by imputing our bust span divided by 2. And from my waist down to my hemline, I'm going to take 0.5, that is ½ inch from both sides, and then rule out the line. And then from my chest line, I'm going to come down by 1 inch and then connect my darts. Next thing is to tighten my back. On both sides of my dart line, I took 0.2 on both sides. I'm going to connect my darts like so. Now it's time to impute my body measurement. I impute my bust measurement, replaced the darts I took there. I did same for my waist, replaced the 1 inch dart I took away from there. Same thing for my hip line. Then I'm going to connect my lines. Like we did for our front arm, come down by 0.5 from your armhole. This is to avoid your corset sitting right under your arm. Your arm needs some room. From that ½ inch, go as low as you want. For me, I just came down to my bust line. I'm just extending the 0.2 that I took for my back. Our back we have eyelets, so I'm going to remove 1½ from our center back. I'm going to cut that part out. Now add your sewing allowance. Like I did for the front, I added just 1 inch. That will be enough for me. To shape my top, I came up by 3 inches like I did for the front, but this one will not have a curve. It will just go straight. But I won't cut this out until after I've cut out my pattern, just like I did for the front. This is to avoid any form of shortage. Here we have our pieces. I'm just indicating where my eyelets will sit. Now I'm just going to label all our pattern, both the front and the back. I'm labeling the side back, the center back, then the center front, and the side front. Then I'm going to cut out 3 inches from the back pattern. I will not curve it at all, it will go straight. So here are all our pieces. As you can see, if we join it, it will have like a diagonal shape, like a slant shape coming from the back to the front. This is all for this 3-piece pattern. We'll add allowances on our fabric when we are cutting. The next video will be on the actual sewing of this beautiful top. Please don't forget to put your notification on to be alerted when I post the video. I hope you learned something. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button to join the family. Thank you so much for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.